Now we will talk about two terms, that is apomixis and polyembryony. Now, for certain writers, apomixis is a type of asexual reproduction where the asexual method in a way is copying the sexual method. Now, remember in both these cases, apomixis and polyembryony, firstly, this is a larger term in context of its ambit. This is a smaller term. That means polyembryony often results as a consequence of this particular process. So, first we are going to see what is apomixis. In few books, if you are an avid reader, you would find that apomixis is used interchangeably with asexual reproduction. Certain writers write apomixis as a method of reproduction which is totally asexual, and certain writers, they believe that this is a type of reproduction which mimics the sexual reproduction. Now we are going to see from the point of view what second type of authors say, that how this particular type of reproduction, though it can be classified as asexual reproduction, how this kind mimics the sexual reproduction. Now for knowing what is being mimicked, you need to know what is the consequence of sexual reproduction. Whenever sexual reproduction occurred, we had seen that two gametes combined, they gave rise to a zygote. That zygote transformed into an embryo. That embryo gave rise to the seed later on. Alright. So we see the transformation of ovule to seed after fertilization has taken place. This is what takes place in the sexual reproduction. At the same time, because this ovule lies within the ovary, so the transformation that takes place at ovary level is that this ovary would get changed into a fruit. So this is what takes place whenever we are dealing with sexual reproduction. Of course, this process, this particular result is a consequence of fertilization, pre and post fertilization events, and this is what we get in hand after sexual reproduction has taken place. Now because we have said in the beginning that apomixis is a type of process that mimics sexual reproduction, so as a result of apomixis we are going to find seeds only. So the resultant thing that we have in our hand because of apomixis would be seeds. And as I said in the beginning, that this apomixis is asexual reproduction. So the gametes would not be involved. There are no gametes but a zygote and embryo. Not zygote, that would confuse you, but an embryo is there. No gametes but embryo is formed. Now you might ask that how it happens. How is it possible that you find an embryo which would later on form the seed, and this development could take place inside the fruit? How it has happened? When there are no gametes, there would not be any fertilization. So you don't find fertilization in apomixis. That means it is an asexual reproduction. Now how it would happen? Where is embryo formed? We had discussed, of course it is formed within the ovule. Which part of the ovule gives rise to the megaspore mother cell? It is the nucellus. So supposedly some part of nucellus automatically gets transformed directly into embryo. You know, cells of nucellus are diploid and embryo also has to be diploid. So there would be a certain amount of differentiation that would take place in the nucellar cells or the cells within the ovule surrounding the embryo sac or within the embryo sac, and resultant diploid embryo would be formed. So from a diploid cell without any meiosis, mitotic division would take place, but no meiosis is taking place, no specialization, gamete formation is taking place, no fertilization is taking place, but what comes as a result of sexual reproduction, we are having the same result. So that is known as apomixis. I am going to repeat it again. Apomixis is a type of asexual reproduction which mimics the sexual reproduction in terms of resultant object that we obtain. So we are going to find seeds, or rather to be very specific, we are going to get an embryo as a result of apomixis but without fertilization. Without formation of gametes, without any fertilization, you get an embryo, and that embryo is apomictic embryo. Now you can realize, if you have understood what all I have said, you can realize the importance of this particular process from the point of view of a farmer. Now the seeds that would be formed as a result of apomixis, they would be nothing but clones, because ultimately it is an asexual method of reproduction where no mixing of gametes or no mixing of characters have taken place. Clones would be formed and we are getting seeds, rather seeds are being formed and those are clones. So the variety that you are expecting, not you but the farmer, that variety what he or she is expecting, there is quite a large amount of certainty that all the seeds, whatever character you are looking for, you will have that character in ample amount without any distortion of that particular character. So apomixis is very important from farmer's point of view in order to get clone seeds, okay, the seeds which do not have the character distorted, which often occurs when we do that hybridization technique and obtain the seeds from that method. So supposedly the farmer has got the best variety as a result of that plant breeding process, and we have studied in younger classes, earlier classes, and of course over here also we study that supposedly the farmer has achieved a good variety and he wants the seeds of that good variety without any mixing. So apomixis is the best possible way. Because we are dealing with apomixis over here and we have understood that what apomixis is, supposedly apart from the egg cell inside the embryo sac undergoing fertilization, apart from this, within the embryo sac, egg cell is there, male gamete would come, it would lead to formation of an embryo which would be nourished by the endosperm. Again some part of nucellus, here also some part of nucellus along with this embryo forms embryo, that would be by mimicry of sexual reproduction, apomixis. So when apomixis goes hand in hand with the normal fertilization process where we get embryo 1 and embryo 2, you are getting 2 embryos as a result of sexual reproduction and apomixis going hand in hand, where the nucellar cell would differentiate into an embryo, both being diploid, you get 2 embryos. That condition is known as polyembryony. Okay, it could be 1 embryo, it could be another nucellar cell forming the 3rd embryo. So you can have more than 1 embryo being formed, 1 embryo being formed by the sexual reproduction, the other becoming embryos as a result of apomixis in the nucellar cells. That condition is known as polyembryony, okay, more than 1 embryo. And the last term that we have to study in this lesson is Parthinocarpi. In the beginning we had said that ovule gets transformed into a seed as a result of pre, post and fertilization events. The seed is transformed from ovule, which undergoes these changes, while the ovary gets converted to fruit. This is what happens. Supposedly the fruit develops without the fertilization of ovules. The ovary is getting developed but there is no fertilization of ovules that has taken place. Then we have the term Parthinocarpi. Now over here you have the word carp. Carp refers to fruit. We had a term Parthenogenesis, that means asexual formation of zygote within one parent. Asexual formation resulting into zygote, but there is one parent. Okay, this is what is Parthenogenesis. But in the case of Parthinocarpi, I have discussed about Parthenogenesis just for understanding the word in parts. So we get rid of this. We are dealing with a formation, we are dealing with a condition where a fruit is being formed without the formation of seeds. ovules will not undergo the process of fertilization, no seeds would be formed, but the ovary would get transformed into the fruit. So, the ovules remain ovules only, there is no fertilization. It might have formed the gametophyte, but no male comes and fertilizes it. So, there is no formation of the seeds. When there are no seeds within the fruit that has developed on its own into fruit from the ovary is known as Parthenocarpi. So, the Parthenocarpi process was given by Knoll in 1904. Okay. So, you have to remember this, that this is the process where we obtain seedless fruits. Of course, no seeds being formed because no fertilization has taken place, and the process termed as Parthenocarpi is obtained. The ovary has developed on its own. Example, simplest example is banana. At times we have papaya. So, this is all about apomixis, polyembryony, and with that we have discussed Parthenocarpi as well.